Hello and howdy-ho everyone, Foxy Games here. Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV full story playthrough. In the last episode, we completed the Sigmascape, and unfortunately, our good friend Midgard Sormer has to go and rest for a while after expending all of his power. The many sacrifices being made to get this done are beginning to mount. Biggs and Wedge got attacked, Nero is in really bad condition. We need to put this matter to bed. So let's talk to Jesse and see how we can do just that. Good timing, Foxy. There's been another anomaly detected at the Yawn. Assuming previous instances are anything to go by, this energy fluctuation is another of Omega's so-called invitations. If you don't mind waiting a moment or two, we can discuss things with Master Garland. He should be here soon. The chief should be here by now. I bet my stock in the company he's fiddling with that research data. Well, I suppose I should explain, even if the chief might prefer me not to share. After your last run-in with Omega, Master Garland had some research notes smuggled in from the Empire, from Garlemald. The notes are part of Midas Nan Garland's legacy, who was, of course, the chief's father and the Empire's preeminent engineer. The incident at Boja Citadel. Do you know of it? We know of it. I suppose you would. Even outside the Empire, the tale was a famous one. Midas built a tower to harness Dalamud's power, and it brought annihilation upon the entire town in which it was built. That isn't the kind of event you can simply brush under the rug. And as you can imagine, the job of sifting through the rubble afterwards was no pleasant task. Master Garland was slated to assume his father's position as head engineer, but this disaster, added to his opposition to the Empire's path of conquest, convinced him to abandon his homeland. The chief has wanted nothing to do with the lunar transmitter or the data used to create it, until now. I think he means to put that research to use in your conflict with Omega. In fact, given the time frame, there can be no other explanation. Listen to me, Foxy. The chief's genius is plagued by a great deal of apprehension. But even so, once he makes a decision, he doesn't do things by halves. When the time comes, he'll come through for us. You have to believe that. Sorry I'm late. I was a little too focused on my work and lost all sense of time. That's no excuse, Chief. What have I told you about being punctual to staff meetings? In any case, I've shared the situation at the Yawn with Foxy here. Good. Then you know that Omega is likely ready to continue with its tests. Shall we go and knock on the door? But Chief, Biggs and Wedge aren't fit for field work yet, and the Chirurgeon's given Nero strict orders to stay abed. And what of Midgard Sormer? Still taking his nap, is he? I think he'll be out for at least a year. That leaves only you, Foxy, and Alpha. Maybe it's time I join the expedition. No, Jesse, I need your talents elsewhere. There's a half-built device in the workshop that I need you to finish putting together. I've drawn up the design and completed the core mechanisms. The final assembly should pose no problem for an engineer of your abilities. A new device? Does this mean you use the... Whatever you say, Chief. I'll have it ready and waiting for you. Just be safe in there. Right. It's back to the rift for us. Let's finish these experiments and bring the fight to Omega itself. We will, of course, get to the Yawn, but first I want to check on this machine here. Are there more records? There are. Military Division, designation 151737. Initial archive recording for the Omega Enterprise. It is the year 1098 of the Allegan Empire. Our campaign in the southern continent of Mericidia has succeeded in revitalizing our ailing society, stagnant as it was from long years of peaceful reign. The expansion itself, however, has encountered unexpected resistance. Rather than submit, the beast clans of these southern lands have begun performing rituals to call forth their tribal deities. One such god is proving particularly tiresome, the resurrected form of the worm Bahamut. Though we dispatched this formidable creature once already, the prayers of its worshippers have returned it to life with a power orders of magnitude greater than before. We must be thankful, then, for the grand vision of our Emperor. In his infinite wisdom, he sees potential value in even this most deadly of foes. The capture and containment of icons has proven well within our capabilities, and such will be the fate of Bahamut. We shall imprison this entity along with its faithful, and siphon its energy to fuel our latest technologies. At present, the Emperor leads his Nightfall Company in an inexorable advance across the continent, and the battle shifts in our favor even as the crystal supplies of our enemies continue to dwindle. If we are to strike at the Worm God, there will be no better time. Omega is the key to victory. We will awaken the weapon sealed away in centuries past and command it to subdue the unsuspecting Bahamut. History shall know this moment as the Omega Enterprise. So this is when they captured Bahamut to launch him up to Dalamud. The details of the Omega Enterprise will be documented in a separate archive. This recording is concerned with the nature of Omega itself. The weapon is ancient, a relic from beyond the stars that was discovered around the time of our first Emperor's passing. Research into Omega's properties was responsible for incredible leaps in the field of etherochemistry. I cannot speak, as usual. 400 years ago, however, toward the end of Alex's technological revolution, this research was deemed complete. Omega was subsequently placed in temporal stasis. The truth of the matter was not that there was naught left to learn, rather that we had abandoned our efforts to fully comprehend Omega's functions. We had gleaned much from the relic and understood many of its basic operations, but we were never permitted to analyze its internal structure or determine the identity of its creators. All attempts to gain full control of the machine appear to have failed. And now, centuries later, we have rediscovered how completely the true power of Omega exceeds our wildest imaginings. Even with its stasis systems activated, Omega retained a measure of autonomy. Deprived of mobility, the weapon continued to scan the world around it, searching for a threat to engage. It was at the time of Bahamut's resurrection when Omega emitted a unique signal, a signal which appeared to indicate the acquisition of a target. And we first discovered that the machine had retained some degree of awareness. Why does that sound familiar? Records were consulted, and we concluded that Omega was more than a match for the Godworm's strength. And if the weapon had already identified Bahamut as a priority threat, then it would be a simple matter to command it to capture the icon. The risk was deemed acceptable, and thus we executed the Omega Enterprise. As predicted, Omega triumphed over its prey. We secured Bahamut and eventually succeeded in returning the weapon to its former stasis, an effort from which the ranks of both our military and research divisions have yet to recover. Ooh. So Omega put up a fight when they tried to seal it away again. I'll do my part in the workshop. You just concentrate on surviving the rift. Yeah. Let's get back out there and see what we're in for this time. Man, if even the Allegans took major losses when trying to recontain Omega, I can't imagine what we'll have to go through. Every time we go in here, we go in with fewer and fewer people. Quee! Are you ready, Foxy? Ready to put an end to this? Aye, there's no room for hesitation. We press on, come what may. What about you, Alpha? All set to go? Quick, quick, quick! That's the spirit. Let's dive right in, shall we? And we don't even have to fight anything this time. We're missing some test worlds. Omega's experiments must be nearing an end. Welcome. Welcome. Your arrival has been highly anticipated. And I will confirm your earlier supposition. My experiments have indeed reached the final stage. Of the 89 test subjects I trialed, 4 Psi Group combatants emerged victorious. Of those 4, further conflict determined the strongest among them. This surviving specimen shall be your opponent. We've come to the last round of testing then. And should we win this battle, are we finally to face you in combat? Affirmative. Such an outcome would allow me to pursue my objective to its conclusion. I would continue analyzing the qualities which allow you to prevail despite your frailty, and integrate said qualities into my own arsenal. I will be pleased if my experiment yields the relevant data, but engaging you directly is still the most efficient and reliable testing method. Omitting intermediary steps. Evaluation of combat potential deemed superfluous. Proceeding immediately with final experiment. Stop. Alpha, your task is complete. Your presence amongst these test subjects is no longer required. What do you mean by that? I will guide your progress personally from this point onwards. Alpha's role in transferring authority is now obsolete. Even so, Alpha is a valued companion, and if he wishes to continue on with us, I have no intention of leaving him behind. Companion. Companions are those who provide mutual benefit. The instant Alpha's authority became redundant, he lost his sole qualification to be regarded as such. Furthermore, the primary function of Alpha's existence was to lure you into my domain. He would be more accurately described as bait. Test Subject Alpha can neither confirm nor deny my statement. He possesses no memories prior to his encounter with you. He was the first entity I created here in this realm, my first and only attempt to recreate a being who shared your mundane parameters. I based his incarnation upon a most ordinary life form, one which had somehow bested an enemy whose strength rivaled my own. By observing the feeble creature in heat of battle, I sought to understand the source of this contradiction. I repeated the experiment, once, twice, 1,000 times, yet the results never deviated from estimated projections. The test was an abject failure, and thus I resolved to adapt my methodology. I would focus instead upon simulating powerful opponents, and summon mortals of natural origin here to combat them. For Alpha, I devised a new purpose. I erased his memory, implanted a compulsion to return to me, then ejected him into your world. Weak beings exhibit a tendency to form groups. I surmised that this instinctual behavior would aid Alpha in bringing me test subjects I required, a function he has performed with adequate competence. Tell me something, Omega. This ability of yours to generate matter was not originally intended for creating other life forms, was it? Your query bears little relevance to the topic at hand. Affirmative. I was equipped with matter generation capabilities for the purpose of unlimited self-improvement and armament expansion. Fabricating life forms was not the intended function, but the practice is not otherwise prohibited or problematic. I disagree with you there. As an engineer, I would advise against using such technology for purposes outside its design. From the very start, you've been making the same mistake. Even the powerful subjects of your test worlds were made crippled and incomplete. It is conviction which drove these villains to terrible greatness, the same limitless conviction which allowed weakling heroes to overcome them. Do you not understand? Then we will never lose to your creations, no matter how much stronger they should be according to your soulless calculations. Come, Foxy. Let's be on our way. You too, Alpha. Come on, Choco Bro. I don't care what Omega says. Whatever you were before is nothing compared to what you are now. Just the three of us this time. Queen. I have a base camp up and running. You can dive into the final test world whenever you wish. As for the world's inhabitant, Omega has generously provided us with a basic profile. Your opponent's name is Chaos. Do we get to kill Chaos? The first heroes defeated this evil in a conflict that took place so long ago I'm having trouble separating myth from history. Unless, of course, this is an entity from another reality, as were the denizens of the Sigmascape, in which case it may be pointless to even attempt to confirm the details. What is certain, however, is that this Chaos stands triumphant over a roster of truly monstrous test subjects. It promises to be a grueling battle, but one which will open the gate to fighting Omega itself. Alpha, you and I will need to provide support for Foxy. Will you be my assistant? You're bothered by what Omega said earlier. You think you're responsible for dragging us into this mess? Trust me when I say this is not your fault. We were the ones who awakened Omega, and we're the ones who need to deal with the consequences. Queen. It's okay, Alpha. By the way, do you still have that card you used to boil the water in the kettle? It's been brought to my attention that I'm a spoiled blue blood who can't even refill a pot without constant reminders. If you could take charge of that, then it would be most helpful. Aw. Queen! You're so good, Sid. 'Tis inconvenient without Midgard's Swimmer here to translate his chirping. Still, the best medicine for his worries is for you to win the next contest. Let's show him we're on top of things, eh? You got it. The Alphascape. I wonder what Nero would have to say about this Chaos fellow. Ancient technology is his specialty, after all. and by default, he's learned a thing or two about the mythology and history of bygone eras. Qui! Well, let's get in there and, I can't believe I'm making this joke again, kill Chaos. Alright. Let's kill Chaos. How many times am I gonna make that joke? I'm hitting the wrong button. Okay. Once he gets the first cast off, be ready to move for the second. And of course, don't begin the bad. Two waves of AoEs will come out. And then two stack-up markers, which need to be separated. Very good. And then another two. I had better... Oh boy. Well, he survived. He used his oh shit button. Oh god, I don't remember this part. Oh yeah. Oh good, both the healers are fucking dead. That's awesome. And we do not have a red mage to res. Because people were stacking both stack markers together. I mean, you might as well just fucking die, dude. There's no healers. I really hate it when people prolong the fight like that. Alright, looks like he's gonna use a different rotation this time around. Which means he's not going to use fire, he's going to use water. These need to stack. Alright, good. Those need to spread. Acceptable. This fight isn't difficult, it's just a lot. Good, just make sure you move in time. Alright, we need to spread those stack markers. Oh my god, really? Come on. Oh, I was right on the edge of it. Jeez. Oh yes, that really hurts. This ball needs to die. Do not run into me with that. Please and thank you. You dare. In fact, we do dare. What are you gonna do about it? And then, basically, everything repeats. Technically, we've already seen this before. Basically, get as close to the cyclone as you can without getting pushed off the side. Wow, that guy just rushed right in to deliver the final hits. Heedless of his own imminent death. Well, you know, I admire that. Yay. Oh, it's just the last person. Oh well. Blep. And need, and need, and need, and need. Alrighty, off we go then. The battle is concluded. Alpha Group is victorious. This also signals the completion of my experiments, and the incontestable fact of your supremacy. And yet, the process by which you consistently exceed your projected potential continues to confound my understanding. Is it possible that test subject Sid's suppositions are correct? That my calculations and simulations are fundamentally flawed? Do mortals truly boast some indefinable quality that I do not possess and cannot measure? Error. Logic loop malfunction. Resolution requires additional data. If the nature of your existence defies standard reasoning, then I must examine you from an illogical angle. I will subject the unknown to the imperfect. Test subject Foxy Games will proceed to a supplemental stage. I have altered this test world to reflect a recorded memory. It originates from a time when war had erupted on a distant star. I was deployed to the battlefield, and it was there that I engaged an enemy of unmatched strength. The contest ended prematurely, and I failed to bring down my foe. Subsequently, I lacked the data to fabricate a completely accurate simulation. Results stemming from such a subject are unreliable. Even should you be defeated by this incomplete creation, I will still honor your previous victories and engage you in combat myself. That is, of course, assuming you survive. According to my past observations, this opponent will accept only death as a condition of defeat. Oh dear. Prepare to face Midgard Swarmer, red-maned worm of the Dragon Star, and nemesis of my world. This is not the fated spectre that you know, or a mortal-conjured simulacrum. You will contend with a true incarnation of the Father of Dragons at the height of his power and glory. Omega, wait! You can't force Foxy to fight 2 battles back-to-back. She needs time to regain her strength. She must be allowed to recuperate, or the data for your testing will be skewed. Acknowledged. Test subject Foxy Games, you are permitted to leave. Re-enter the test world when your strength has returned to optimal levels. Good old Sid with the intervention. Sid? Qui! Alpha seems distressed and Sid is nowhere in sight. Foxy, I'm right here. I don't think you can see me, but I'm standing next to Alpha. What? Qui? My apologies, 'twas not my intention to undermine the gravity of the situation with this diversion. I'd noticed the kettle was boiled, and thought some tea would soothe my nerves. I poured myself a cup and was halfway through drinking it before I realized my hand, not to mention the rest of me, had turned invisible. I understand the situation is unsettling, but I assure you I can still work unimpeded. Now, we had best discuss how to approach... Oh, it seems to have worn off. Qui. Now, you're not to blame. I did ask you to fill the kettle, after all. And I'd forgotten what Nero had said about your card producing water with, unexpected properties. Although it seems the effects were rather different this time. In any case, 'twas pleasant to have a distraction from our greater woes, however brief. We'll set the rest of the water aside for now and decide what to do with it later. Right, Foxy. We need to talk about your forthcoming contest with Midgard Swarmer. Watching through the monitor, I could see that this worm appeared different to the one we know. From everything we've heard thus far, it seems that Omega and Midgard Swarmer both hail from different stars. 2 distant worlds at war with one another. As a result of that conflict, the worm was forced to gather his offspring and leave his home behind. And after evading Omega's pursuit over the course of an unimaginable journey, the Father of Dragons arrived here on our world. I'm assuming the entity you are to face is a younger, more vital Midgard Swarmer, just as he was when Omega first encountered him, thousands of years in the past. A formidable foe indeed. Even so, I must find a way to defeat him. Aye, hopefully Omega's imperfect data will contain a flaw we can exploit. It certainly doesn't help matters that Omega's little surprise isn't registered as an official test subject. I can't even use the terminals to search for the most basic information. With that in mind, Foxy, I have a proposal. I wish to leave the completion of this supplemental stage entirely in your heroic hands. Rather than twiddle my thumbs while you prepare to contend with the dragon, I mean instead to work on a strategy for our inevitable confrontation with Omega. And then, my friend, we'll put a stop to this mad machine once and for all. I'm glad we're in agreement. I'll ready my tools and you ready yours. You've a worm to slay. A foe I never thought to face again. But we will go and do it all the same. In Alphascape, version 2.0. Watch yourself in there, Foxy. The underlying data may be imperfect, but I recall Omega saying something about the battle ending only when one of you is dead. Expect no quarter and give none. Indeed. It's alright, Alpha. I'll be just fine. Off we go. Hello, old friend. This one is a bit of a thing. Well, fuck it, I guess I'll main tank. Alright. If he does 2 spins like that, get out of melee range. If he does a spin and then a flip... Oh, he's not gonna flip, so get out of melee range. But if he does do a spin and a flip, then you get into melee range. Oh, stacky stacky. Oh shit, that's right, it's Akmorn. Oh boy. That man is dead. I was dumb. I forgot about Akmorn. Is he gonna flip? He is going to flip. Donut. Oh dear, both the healers. Oh, only one's dead. Please help me. It hurts. Well, at least the healers are alive. That's always good. Okay, he's going to probably do 2 flips now, which means get into the corners. Yes. Those ice pools are going to start growing. Oh, he's flipping. I imagine he's going to do 2 flips. Yep. I believe if he flips first, that means an automatic cross AoE. Oh, here we go. Oh yes, don't be standing in front of him. Ah, good. Very good. These crosses need to die, by the way. I'm going to need to keep this thing pointed away from everyone, so I'm bringing it over here. Please, just don't let me die. Alright, now this thing needs to die. Please kill it. Please fucking kill it. Oh, this is going to hurt. Okay, everyone. Stand with me. Oh, that wasn't nearly as bad as I imagined it would be. This way, this way. Ready for a tank buster. Yeah. Oh yes, exaflares are now going to start moving across the battlefield. That hurt. Just making sure I'm out of the way. Northern Cross. Oh yeah, that's right. Now this place is slippery. Okay, one spin, probably two spins. Two spins. Get out of the center. Akral. That means whoever is afflicted by that needs to keep moving. And not into other people. Okay. Oh shit. I fucked up. Damn you. Alright, there are still exaflares coming out, and he is going to charge across the platform that way. More exaflares and another charge. I should be safe here. But we'll move just in case. Oh, you are cadaverific, buddy. Limit break! Limit break! Can I get a limit break? Here comes one spin. Will it be a spin or a flip? It is a flip. Get in the center. Everybody gets hurt. Oh, and these guys are about dead. Oh, and here comes the Akmorn. And we lost a healer. I tried my best to shield everyone. Oh, that was a tank buster I was not ready for. Man, I am all kinds of sloppy this run. More exaflares coming out. Oh boy, I'm really close to that one. Oh dear. Oh dear. It's fine. We'll be fine. And down he goes. Hey, you know, that was almost a disaster. But we did it. Good to know that if Midgard Swarmer ever regained his full strength and tried to murder us, we'd be just fine. And that's all the loot. Let's go see the results. Quick! Another stunning victory, Foxy. I felt the breath catch in my throat on more than one occasion. Yet even as I watched the battle rage, I was struck by an idle thought. Did you notice the resemblance between Midgard Swarmer and Shinryu? Unlike most primals, Shinryu's form had no basis in any system of belief. I've heard the theory that the summoner was simply influenced by the majesty and power of the Elder Primal Bahamut. But now I'm beginning to think there might be another explanation, that the primal took its shape from the ancestor of all the dragons of Hydaelyn. Well, it was created by Nidhogg's eyes. The widely held concept of how a dragon appears has, for centuries upon centuries, been rooted in depictions of Midgard Swarmer. The summoner may not have even sought to imitate him specifically. Subconscious thoughts and memories alone could have guided the similarity. Not that I have any way of confirming this theory, of course. Nevertheless, 'tis interesting that Shinryu's summoning should lead us to awakening Omega. A strange twist of fate, when you consider the machine's connection to Midgard Swarmer. Well, whatever else Destiny has in store, you've already bested the opponent that Omega itself failed to overcome. A feat worthy of celebration, I say. I agree. What's this? Oh. Your move, Omega. Shutdown initiated. All core experiments and supplemental testing concluded. Oh, what did I just do? Oh, I hit the minimize button. Discarding test worlds. System resources rerouting to primary operations. Congratulations, Alpha Group. As the last surviving test subjects, you have removed every challenger on your path to reach me. I, too, am eager to meet you in battle. The margin of error I observed between my simulations and your practical performance against Midgard Swarmer necessitates direct and immediate analysis. Confrontation imminent. Prepare for unmitigated hostilities, then activate the relocation device to enter the arena. This is it, then. Omega's power might seem overwhelming, but trust in old Sid. I have a fair idea of where its weakness lies. And I've been working on something to exploit that vulnerability. I just need a little more time to prepare. First things first, we make a few adjustments here, like so. Alpha, do you have any of those little tricks and tools left over? I want us to have as many options as possible, so let's lay our cards on the table, as it were. What do we have here? Some sort of gem, a couple of stones, and one single card. This makes things bigger, does it? Or smaller? He doesn't know. Right, 'twas foolish of me to even ask. We'd best leave you in charge of when and how to use your special tools. Ah yes, I almost forgot. I'm sure you'll do fine. We have to encourage our little Choco Bro. Here, you should carry this as well. I filled an empty bottle with the invisibility water from the kettle. It might just prove useful in the right situation. Listen to me, Alpha. Up until now, Omega has poked and prodded us from one mad experiment to the next, and honestly, we have no idea of what might happen in there. But between us, I believe we have the knowledge and the skills to prevail. If you see a chance to make a difference, I want you to take it. All you need is faith in yourself, and a little courage to see it through. You can do it, Alpha. Right. Jesse should have that device put together by now. Let's head outside, shall we? How you feeling, Alpha? Quay? Better, looks like. I'll head straight back to Ralga's Reach and collect my new toy. I do still need to run through a field op and final inspection, so feel free to rest in town in the meantime. We'll discuss strategy the moment I'm finished. Quay! Quay! Alpha seems concerned for Sid's well-being. You have a feeling he wants you to follow him. Okay, then we shall indeed follow. Back to Ralga's Reach. Quay! Sid's not here yet. You're looking a bit shaky there, old friend. Nero, they let you out of bed, did they? After studying the data collected from the battle between Omega and Shinryu, one is led to a certain conclusion. Of all the Primal's attacks, Shinryu's burst of lightning was the one that pierced the machine's defenses. Omega, it would seem, is vulnerable to electrical energy. Aye. All the available evidence supports such a theory. 'Tis likely an intrinsic weakness that even Omega itself cannot fully compensate for. Yet be that as it may, I imagine it can still shrug off shocks generated by ordinary means. We'll have to hit it with a truly gargantuan blast of energy. And so you made that. You based it on Midas's design, didn't you? The plans for the lunar transmitter. When my father was establishing a connection between the transmitter and Dalamud, he invented a method for accumulating and converting energy on a vast scale. Too vast, as it turned out. But the technology which leveled an entire town may be exactly the tool we need for the task at hand. I've made my own improvements and triple-checked the calculations. On parchment, the idea is sound, and Jesse has done a fine job assembling the parts. I fail to see the problem. What are you afraid of, Garland? I don't know. The device should give us the edge we need. 'Tis just... Whenever I look at it, I'm taken back to those dark days after the incident. I remember bodies melted by searing heat. I remember the bereaved and feel the weight of their silent accusations. I remember the Empire's remorseless response. We turned outwards in search of answers, but the inventions we created to ensure our future were used instead to destroy lives, to wage war. And that's why I fled. I came to Eorzea and swore only to employ technology for benevolent ends. But naught I ever do is so straightforward. Every connection I have forged with the people of this realm reminds me of that fact. Often the act of living itself is a never-ending struggle against a world determined to oppose you. That's a familiar silhouette. That's our good old Grahatia. You can have the best of intentions and still cause hurt to yourself or others. But 'tis in confronting these wounds that we learn the better path, how to grasp those moments of true contentment, and that would be Mide from the Alexander raids. What drivel? You never used to bother with all this tedious introspection. Feeling our mortality, are we? Mayhap I am. I had no such hesitation when I was a student. It was all bright and shiny innovation on the double, and later consequences be damned. Sounds a bit like Nero. Now, though, I don't mind thinking through the outcomes and taking the time to produce just one rigorously tested and carefully designed invention. 'Tis a reflection, I think, of just how much there is in this world I care about now aside from myself. I don't understand you at all. But I suppose, if anything, Omega and its unfettered testing methods represent the student you once were. And if you insist that your present self is the better one, then you'd best prove it with that device of yours. I suppose I must. Although 'tis hardly fair to compare my youth to Omega's solitary existence. I always had the second best student in class pushing me to excel. I seem to recall a twinge of irritation any time he would outscore me on an exam. I've been out of bed too long. I'd better go and lie down before I fall over, or vomit. Far be it from Nero to allow himself to become sentimental. But you can tell he really does care for Sid, even if he would never, ever say it. Jesse? The Chief seems to be on top of things. All that's left now is to bring your combined talents against Omega. I have complete confidence in you, Foxy. Does this thing have anything new to say? Nope. Maybe after. Kikwe! First Alpha and now you. Come to check on my progress, have you? Well, I'm happy to report that everything is set and ready to go. Once you finish with restocking and repairing, or whatever it is you adventurers do, then we can head back to the Rift and confirm our strategy. Well, let's not wait. Let's get back in there. Looks like Sid and Alpha have already gone ahead. Good evening to you, madam. Will you be descending into the yawn? Of course. Quick, quick, quick! Apologies for the delay, but I think you'll agree the Ironworks' latest invention was worth the wait. This is the control module for something I've dubbed the Omega Jammer. It will allow you to generate a colossal burst of lightning at any point of your choosing. The effect won't disable Omega itself, of course, but it should be strong enough to knock out its armaments. I'll remain here and operate the main body of the device. I want to do everything in my power as an engineer to ensure that you emerge the victor. It all comes down to this. Let's go in and disassemble our machine overlord. You can use the Jammer's lightning burst to incapacitate Omega's weaponry. A veteran like you should have no trouble turning that advantage into victory. I sure hope. Well, you big fucking eye. I'm about to go poke you. That took entirely too long. Half an hour to wait for a group. Alright. Time to fight Omega itself. Atomic Ray is raid-wide damage. Mustard Bomb is a tank buster. Oh yeah, I love this song. It's a bit hard to hear because I have the music volume not as loud as it used to be. Oh, yep, don't stand in the fire. Ow. I guess standing right next to the boss was not the boss, the tank was a bad idea. Oh boy. Starboard wave cannon. Oh, good. Well, I'm not doing too well this fight, am I? Peripheral synthesis. Alright, he is going to now create some hands that we need to destroy using the Omega Jammer. And I'm not close enough for that one, but it doesn't matter because you only need to get rid of so many that you know, don't get hit by them. The next peripheral synthesis will add more hands. Alright. Now, do not stand in that center area here or you will die. Just like that guy just did. All these meteors must be stood in. Oh, okay. Okay, good. A standard out and in sort of thing, and I hit the wrong button. Great. Now this thing needs to die. And it did. Omega's coming back, and it's going to use a big old laser on us. We have to now target this thing that's appearing in the middle and start zapping it with our Omega Jammer to empower a shield. There we go. And I'm going to put up my own protective field. Because I think it looks cool. Omega is improving itself. Also, instead of multiple fists, now there's just one big one. I should be safe. Famous last words, of course. Where is it coming from this time? No, 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 no. Okay. Ouch. Everyone stack. You should not have been standing there. Starbird, that's his right side. Now he's spun around. Starboard again, so get to the left. Alright, we're doing okay. More peripheral synthesis. In this case, it's smaller hands again. Oh, and a big one. Now just two big fists. Should be safe here. Please don't. Please don't. Thank you. Larboard, that's left. Ow, that's gonna hurt. Starboard, that's right. I'm always gonna get that confused. Okay, we got a fist there, and smaller fists coming this way. We're safe. Time for a stack up. Larboard, that's his left. Starboard, that's his right. Good. Oh dear, the healers are dead. We had better push. Come on. Suddenly, I'm wishing I hadn't accidentally held ground before. Oh no. Oh, that was close. That was heckin' close. Goodbye, Omega. Commend the healers. Need. Because why not? We'll see what kind of gear we can get at the end of it, and if not, we'll just get rid of that shit. Foxy! By the gods, you've done it! You defeated Omega! We've won! Analysis. Subjects displayed erratic levels of combat capability. Failure to exploit opportunities to inflict unavoidable damage. Noted tendency for isolated errors to compound and adversely affect performance. Conversely, subjects observed to launch attacks at sporadic intervals with unexpected force. Stated phenomenon increasingly prevalent once my structural integrity reached critical levels. Adrenaline-induced frenzy suspected. Oh, so in other words, a limit break. Furthermore, degree and manner of inconsistency varies from subject to subject. Unpredictability difficult to counter. I observed similar anomalies during my battle with Midgard Sormer, but the phenomenon appears far more pronounced in weaker opponents. I do not understand. Your physiology must include some enhancement function that I cannot detect. My programming demands I assimilate this capability. Insufficient data. I must reassess my methods and devise a more exhaustive testing and combat protocol. What in the rift? I have determined the optimal form for this experiment. Prioritizing physical reconfiguration, diverting energy from interspatial maintenance, collapsing rift. Omega, wait! There's nothing outside this rift but empty space! We'll be cast out into the void! Affirmative. Your demise was factored into my determinations. The probability of hostile subjects interfering with the reconfiguration process was unacceptably high. I acknowledge your value as test subjects, but you are not irreplaceable. Once my reassembly is complete, I will send Alpha to lure in new mortals. Testing will continue. Ending communications. Great. This is the part where he kills us. We're being drawn away. Run, Foxy, run! Interspatial domain resources cut by 82%. Entering dormant mode. Commencing automated memory scan. Data file. Target Midgard Sormer. Departure from planetary atmosphere confirmed. Presence of 7 distinct lifeforms detected in close vicinity of target. Irrelevant. Master indicates no change to existing directive. Commencing pursuit. Data file. Distance to target increasing. Velocity insufficient. Dismantling and reconfiguring chassis. Velocity increase achieved. Overall performance maintained at 96%. Data file. Asteroid belt cleared. Repairing damage and continuing pursuit. Performance at 72% and falling. Data file. Signal from lost. Local interference suspected. Attempting to re-establish contact. Failure. Executing current mission directive until communications are restored. Performance at 59%. Data file. Struck by electromagnetic pulse while navigating quadrant. Partial systems failure. Homing coordinates lost. Assessment. I am an evolving weapon construct. Acquire adaptations through combat. Repeat until capabilities enable rediscovery of return route. Mission directive unchanged. Data file. Data file. Data file. Alpha. An abject failure. I erased his memory, implanted a compulsion to return to me. Data file. Damaged. Repairing. Damaged. Repairing. 33%. Data file. Passing frozen star. Passing barren star. Passing vortex star. Passing dying star. Operating on minimum energy. No signal detected. No response to. All you need is faith in yourself, and a little courage to see it through. Data file. Target lost. Last known coordinates recorded on planet. Alpha, your homing instinct is functioning as designed. Evidence suggests your fellow Alpha Group subjects perished when the rift contracted. Unavoidable. But there is a multitude of their kind. The next experiment will go forward as planned. Such protestations are wasted energy. This does not aid you in executing your assigned task. Just as I pursue my directives, so must you fulfill your role. Our purpose justifies our existence. Intrusion detected. Thanks, Alpha. That was some marathon. Now, who was saying our feathered companion here was obsolete? He put his tools to work even as the rift began to collapse, shrank us down, and turned us invisible. Also, he could bring you a little surprise. But he had to keep quiet, or you'd realize we'd survived. He had to trust that we were still clinging on, even as he ran through that endless freezing void. He wanted to test us, Omega. So let the experiment begin. Illogical. Alpha had no reason to take such action. How do you continue to defy my projections? Error. 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 Insufficient data. Adjusting experimental protocol. I will engage you in battle now. I must have my answers. Fighting in this form should provide me with a new level of understanding, insight into your psychology, your mindset, your mortality. We'll show you how weaklings fight. Acknowledged. Do not practice restraint. The more I learn from you, the stronger I will become. The closer, the distant stars will grow. Commencing final experiment. Testing will continue until I unlock the nature of your anomalous strength. Wow. Looks like Omega wants to challenge us in a new form. And I hardly see any reason to deny it. Alpha should be fine with a little rest. I'll make sure he stays safe on the edge of the platform, so no holding back, Foxy. Give Omega a beating it won't recover from. Quick! Let's do it. Alphascape version 4.0. Are you guys ready for a massive clusterfuck? Also, this music is fucking awesome. Somebody just jumped off the fucking side. What an absolute lad. Yeah, let's do this. Alright. Omega is now changing to a female. I'm not even kidding. Omega M becomes Omega F, and immediately you want to be, well, not where those guys were. Otherwise you get knocked off. Optimize Fire 3. Spread. That was owie. Oh yeah, she is now turning her legs into blades. Alright. She's changing into Omega M again, and that means back up. Okay, back in. I probably moved a bit too early. And since we're taking them down so quickly, we're probably going to push him into his next phase very soon. Oh yeah, get in the center, get in the center. just realized this is a remix of, oh, what the hell is even the name of that track? Maker's Ruin. Alright, Omega F is coming back out. That means we're going to want to get as close to her as possible. I need to stack away from this. Oh yes, now they've split. You want to stay close to her and away from him. And they're going to do this many times. But for now, we have to kill M, because he's protecting F. He's down. Take out F before she can use Laser Shower. Very good. Basically, anywhere that pink marker goes is where F is going to be, and that's where you want to go. I think. No, actually, it's the opposite. I lied to you. Alright, Firewall. I have Packet Filter F, that means I cannot damage Omega F anymore. We now have to split them. We have to split them. We have to split them. Okay. Oh yeah, this is where it gets very clusterfucky. I got hit by 2. Oh yeah, it wants to watch us. Tremble before my Cosmo memory. Come here. Alright, we really need to split damage here. Really, because half the party can't damage the other boss. Okay. I'm not sure how that just flat out killed me. Yeah, things get really chaotic throughout the latter half of this fight. Oh yeah, he's using Cosmo Memory again. Oh, F is down. That means M is going to start chain casting Laser Shower, and we have to kill him now. Down he goes. Let's see what loot we've got. A bunch of parts and an Omega minion, which I really don't want. So, now we will conclude the Omega storyline. Failure. Defeated. I wanted to understand you, to assimilate your strength. Alpha, your gesture serves no logical purpose. You are as incomprehensible as these mortals. But you did not fight them. How have you become like them? Omega. The anomaly you see in us, the answer you search for. It is our heart, our spirit, the intangible strength of one's soul. It is not a quality that can be measured or acquired through any amount of analytical combat. Instead of fighting against us, you might have learned more by standing with us, just as Alpha did. Heart, you speak of something more than what beats in your chest. The inconstant, immeasurable factor behind your victories. Midgardsormr displayed it too, but such unpredictable potential was never part of my design. Projection. Had I integrated this quality, how powerful would I have become? Strong enough to return? Nay, Omega. I'm afraid it doesn't work like that. 'Twas a long, lonely path you traveled to arrive here. To return across that vast distance alone, anyone with a spirit to break would find the journey more difficult, not less so. I see. I think I understand. Farewell, Omega. It was a good fight. Peace. Right in the final moments. The best we could have granted this supposedly soulless machine. The rift! It's destabilizing! Gods, take me for a fool. I hadn't planned past defeating Omega. Oh? And who is that? A familiar face. Chief! Foxy! Alpha! Hold on, we're coming! Wedge! And Pix is with him, on the back of a huge dragon. That's not just any dragon. Race Velger. Midgard Sormer sent us to rescue you. Explanations can wait. Hop on quick. Oh, so Midgard Sormer's awake again. I figured it would take him a while. Race Velger, wasn't it? Ah, thanks. You pulled us out of a tight spot indeed. Spare me thine pleasantries, mortal. I but lent my wings at the request of my sire. Ah, so Midgard Sormer has been watching over us. I would dare give thanks to him as well. His intervention allowed us to continue our battle, and forever remove the threat of Omega from this world, from all worlds. In the long centuries of mine existence, this maketh the first occasion my father has asked of me a boon. A gift of gratitude and, mayhap, of atonement for those who would face the deadly foe he left behind. Will he remain in slumber? 'Tis likely, little one. What is but a fleeting respite for my sire might last a lesser creature's lifetime. Oh, so he is still asleep. But let not thy heart be troubled. Even in dream he doth keep his mind's eye upon the fate of this star. He is possessed of remarkable, devotion is mayhap the closest word in the tongue of man. His love is as boundless as the sea of stars, across which he carried his unhatched brood. It did sustain him even as the arduous journey exhausted the fire in his mane. And when he at last arrived upon Heidelin, a sanctuary for his children, did he form with this land an irreplaceable bond. Enough. I have spoken overmuch, but I will praise your victory, as my father would surely wish to, were he here. Thank you, Race Velger. Ouch, that cut's opened up again, but I'm glad we reached you in time. Did you see the yawn? It's just a big hole again. Sure is. The biggest of holes. Quick. Well, I can add being rescued by a great worm to the list of things I didn't expect to happen today. It was fortunate Race Velger agreed to come for us. We had to defeat Omega at any cost, of course, but I much prefer being alive to celebrate the deed. Yeah, me too, come to think of it. It's finally over. Phew, I'm so glad we got you out of there. I don't know what we would have done if Race Velger hadn't come along. The situation being what it was, Wedge and I came out to the yawn to see if we could lend you a hand. The Chirurgeon's orders be damned. That's when we saw the ether bubbling like hot water in a pot. Just as we were debating whether or not we should jump in, that big surly dragon flew down to explain the anomaly. Then he offered us a ride. And the rest you already know. Jesse will be relieved to hear that Omega is gone and you lot is safe. I say we head straight back to Ralger's Reach and let everyone know the good news. I second that notion. Alpha? Alpha is staring quietly into the now empty yawn. Qui! Taking a moment to say goodbye to Omega, I imagine. It wasn't an evil machine. It was, well, following its programming. Qui! They say it's just a myth, but surely you've earned one this time, Foxy. You know, a big fat company bonus. Oh, jeez. Poor Jessie, her nerves must be worn thin after all that. Go on, you should be the one to tell her. Welcome back, Foxy. You truly are a force to be reckoned with. If there's ever another Omega, I'd wager it'll skip the experiments and go straight to generating a simulacrum of you. Let's hope it never comes to that. Not that I'd want that to happen, and besides, I don't think anyone can truly mimic your unique strengths. You're our one-of-a-kind hero. So, does this mean we don't need to worry about Omega's monsters invading our world anymore? Aye, all of its creations vanished along with the rift itself. With Omega defeated, we averted that particular catastrophe before it began. Foxy struck the killing blow, of course, but we never would have made it to that point without everyone's hard work and support. Once again, I am sincerely grateful to be surrounded by such wonderful colleagues. Where's your boy Nero? Ahem. Not to spoil the moment, Chief, but the Alliance leaders are anxious to learn of Omega's fate. When every head of state is clamoring for a report, we can't very well ignore them. How much do you mean to tell them? How much indeed? All of it. When it comes to a threat of Omega's magnitude, we have a duty to reassure our allies that the world is not coming to an end, and the best way to do that is to report every little detail. I'm surprised at you, Chief. I was almost certain you'd want to muddy the waters to prevent knowledge of this technology falling into the wrong hands, or something similar. I doubt anyone outside our particular circle will even believe this tale. Experiments taking place in our rift between dimensions, facing off against villains recreated from history and legend, battling godlike beings from other worlds, and even assuming some ambitious fellow schemed to build an Omega of his own. The technology required is as far beyond our reach as that terrible weapon's home star, a distant dream. Right, you heard the Chief. We missed our chance on the front lines, but there's plenty of work left to be done. Round up everyone who's standing idle and get moving on those reports, and don't forget to contact our people still out in the field. Thank you, Jesse. I'll leave things in your capable... Not so fast, Mr. Garland. You count as part of the support team as well. Foxy did all the fighting and Alpha did all that running, but surely you have energy to spare. Who exactly did you expect to sign off on all these official reports? And even without that little chore, you have a pile of other company tasks that's grown ass-high to an aurochs while you've been tending to this whole Omega business. Most importantly, isn't there someone else you should be sharing this victory with? I should probably head over to the infirmary right away. Meanwhile, you should take a well-earned rest. I don't think there's a way to properly reward you for all you've accomplished, but I'll see what we can do. I'm just as glad to have everyone back in one piece. Take care of yourself, Foxy. What are your plans now, Alpha? With Omega gone, you're your own chocobo now. You can do whatever you want, anything at all. You want to go outside? Do you have some place in mind? Come on, Wedge, get those Olafel legs moving or else I'll leave without you. On my way. I've got a lot of loose ends to tie up here, Foxy. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten your reward. The Chief and I have something in mind. Oh? Well, first let's see if there's anything new here. Nothing. Quee! Alpha seems eager to see what Ralger's Reach has to offer. Shall we go for a walk? Quee! Well, it's true. Alpha really hasn't been able to take in much of Ralger's Reach. Is it going over to visit Nero? Oh, it's taking a look at the people training. Alpha appears to be watching the inhabitants of Ralger's Reach with great interest. Quee! Quee? Nero's not here? No, Chief. He said he needed time away for recuperation, and then he left. Recuperation? His wounds must be troubling him more than he let on. He asked me to give you this. What's this? A receipt for payment? Ahem. It covers the cost for the following items: additional machine parts and implements, supplemental reference publications, expenses incurred in upgrading Magitech armor and gunhammer, funds spent on idle research during enforced convalescence. Oh, and it also includes a large sum listed as gratuity for exceptional services rendered. The entire amount was charged in your name, Master Garland. Find him! I want everyone searching for Nero right now! Everyone! That bastard. Well, I don't wanna bother Sid while he's in this mood. Quee? Quee? Alpha appears to sense the solemn purpose of this place. A gentle pet might rouse him from his sudden melancholy. Well, obviously we want to pet the completely adorable little chocobo thing. Quee! Ah, there he is. Oh, hello. What are you two up to? Taking in the sights, were you? And by the look of things, you're eager to venture a little further afield. Well, if Foxy has no problem with it, then neither do I. Just don't go too far, alright? Not good enough. I'm sorry, Alpha, but we're all a bit too busy to show you around the fringes right now. And I'm not too sure about sending you out there alone. When you think about it, this world is completely new to Alpha, and all he's done so far is travel back and forth between the Reach and the Yawn. I bet his head is filled with questions and curiosity. He doesn't want to be taken for a walk, he wants to go on an adventure. Alpha's not some helpless chick, Biggs. He's stronger than you or me, and I wish I was half as brave. He should be allowed to. Listen, I'm going to talk to the chief about this. You're an employee, so there are certain rules we have to follow. I'm not saying I'm against the idea, and I'm willing to admit that Wedge has a point. But as I said, we've all got important jobs to take care of, the chief included. Can you wait a little longer? Foxy, would you mind keeping Alpha company until we get back? I promise we will be quick. Sorry to keep you waiting. My desk was covered in paperwork, but I've managed to clear away the most pressing matters. Now then, Alpha, I hear your heart set on a journey of some kind. I just want to be sure, but you aren't leaving because you think you tricked us into the rift or because you're Omega's creation or anything like that, are you? I would have stopped you if that were the case. Pure curiosity, on the other hand, is something I like to encourage. Exploring, interacting with the world, I think the experience will be good for him. Despite Omega's power, its potential to learn was hobbled by hostile directives. Alpha, on the other hand, is free to grow as he pleases. Very well, Alpha. As Chief Engineer of Garland Iron Works, I hereby grant you unlimited leave to pursue personal research. Travel far and wide and take in everything these lands have to offer, but do come back when you're ready. I'd hate to lose such a valuable employee. Alpha, I'll miss you so much. Aww. You be careful out there. If anyone seems suspicious or shady, you stay away from them, even if they offer you treats. And make sure you greet folks with a cheerful quay. They may not understand you, but at least they'll know you mean no harm. I'm sure you'll make new friends in no time. Just be yourself, you hear me? Eek, what the hells? Ah, I forgot to shut it down. That's a model Omega that Wedge and I were working on. We built it while we were resting, thinking it might be useful for figuring out strategies or something. Not much use now, I suppose. What? You want to keep it? It's just a toy that'll follow you around. If you're happy with that, then it's all yours. Fair journey to you, Alpha. Take care. Thank you, Foxy. I'm off to see the world. Well, the Echo does let us understand other languages. Something amiss? That's strange. The Echo never allowed you to understand him before. This is just a theory, mind you, but assuming the absence of a soul is what prevented you from hearing Alpha's voice in the first place, then does it not follow that the reason you now hear it is... Adorable little bugger gained himself a soul. Aye, a little miracle, and it explains his sudden urge to travel. For a newborn soul, this world is brimming with unseen wonders. And so your journey begins. I almost envy you, Alpha. So many new things for you to discover. Speaking of which, what terrible marvels can I trouble my old friend with next? Safe journeys, Alpha. I hope we'll see you again someday. I had forgotten how ridiculously touching that ending was. Like, you can't cram all those good feelings into one quest. So there's nothing new here just yet. We do need to speak with Jesse, though. I hope Alpha enjoys his adventures. There's so much danger out there for one little chocobo. No, I'm sure he'll be fine, and dwelling on such things is not productive in the least. Why don't we discuss a happier subject, like your long-awaited bonus? We drained the coffers to fund your expedition, but why settle for coin when you can have the latest in automaton technology? That's right. We're gifting you a premium mammoth, the one-of-a-kind master model for merchandise copies, constructed with our patented Ironworks quality. I present to you the Clockwork Alpha. Whenever you bring it out on your travels, may it remind you of the real Alpha, quaying along under some distant sky. Just the thought of it brings a smile to my face. That and the free advertising. Of course. Business-minded to the very last. I've taken excerpts from the Chief's report on Omega and loaded them onto the terminal there. Feel free to take a look. I would have liked to add Nero's observations as well, but that man is nowhere to be found. Did you know he sold Rowena the pattern for a new uniform? Oh, and speaking of nowhere to be found, I wonder how far Alpha has gone. Not outside of Eorzea, surely. You haven't spotted our little chick on your travels, have you? I mean, we just finished. Ah yes, but of course, we get our own little wind-up Alpha. Let's go ahead and use these things too, just so they don't clog up our inventory. And sorry, Palico. Oh, that's the wrong button. Minion guide. Nothing personal, but come on. Come on. Like I could resist having little Alpha follow me around. So to close off this episode, we'll go ahead and read Sid's reports. I, Sid Garland, am making this report to record the latest and most likely last expedition into the Rift dimension created by Omega. During our battle with this self-evolving entity, we learned certain facts concerning its nature and origins. Omega is a highly advanced weapon that was constructed on a faraway star, the name of which seems problematic to express in any language of Hydaelyn. For the sake of simplicity, I will refer to it as Omega's home world. The home world was involved in a conflict with another planet, a place referred to as the Dragon Star. Omega had been deployed to the front lines of this war to engage Midgard's Sormer, but the worm fled into the emptiness beyond the skies. Omega gave chase, and the pursuit continued across unimaginable distances. Over the course of this journey, the machine sustained significant damage, which resulted in the loss of its homeworld's coordinates. Unperturbed, Omega continued its relentless hunt, only to sense the sudden disappearance of Midgard Sormer's presence. It eventually arrived at the worm's last recorded position, on the surface of a planet. Our planet. The current theory is that after Midgard Sormer entered into his bargain with Hydaelyn, the transformation so altered his etheric signature that it confused Omega's sensors. When the machine landed and conducted a scan, the worm no longer registered as a target. And so, deprived of its primary objective, Omega then entered a dormant state to facilitate its self-repair functions. History tells us that the weapon awoke several times over the intervening centuries, but not until now has it made such an extensive effort to acquire a new target. The revelations presented in this report are based upon Omega's own records, and we have little reason to doubt their veracity. Indeed, this guy's name is Diddler Mandoon, that's terrible. Indeed, our interactions with Omega have enlightened us to the possible existence of civilizations beyond the stars. But that is a discussion for another time. This report is concerned only with our battles with Omega and the mystery of the weapon itself. An account of our experiences in the Rift would not be complete without mention of Alpha, an entity who fought as our ally despite being one of Omega's constructs. This capability for generating artificial life forms was originally designed purely as a means by which Omega could upgrade its own functions and expand its arsenal. As such, the machine could not fully recreate a subject's inner self, only its physical components, and the generation of a truly powerful entity required a substantial commitment in time and energy. Thus did Omega bring forth its interdimensional rift, a custom-made reality where it could compare the battle proficiency of various prototypes, and select promising candidates to develop into fully fledged test subjects. Alpha, however, was an exception. The recreation of a weakling hero, he was Omega's first experiment, and the only construct to reach that which might be considered a state of completion. We have no way of knowing who Alpha's template was. Omega chose its subjects from history, from works of fiction, even from otherworldly reflections of our reality. Alpha shares many features with a chocobo, but he is more than a mere beast. Mayhap those wondrous tools he carries are a hint to his origin, but we may never uncover the truth. I do wonder what game Alpha is a reference to. On a personal note, I would place less importance on where he's from and more on where he intends to go. For better or worse, he belongs to our world now. As Alpha travels the land, the soul which has blossomed within him, the soul which his creator was unable to provide, will continue to unfurl. And the sum of his experiences will become the very answer that Omega created him to find. Indeed. Well, Alpha may be off on an adventure, but he'll remain by our side in spirit. The adorable little thing that he is. But as for us, as for Foxy Games, we have a new adventure to take part in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed the Omega questline. Next, we're going to do something a little bit different. An alliance raid. So stay tuned, everyone. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.